The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTOFWAR5 to get a discount on your next order. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art of War. We got an exciting video here today as we're going to be fixing some member-submitted lists.
Fix my list? What a fun series. I haven't been on one of these things in a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I think I was with the old Streamhouse when I was on last one.
Really?
So, yeah.
Ancient times.
Ancient days, yeah.
So this is a format that we recently brought back where our War Room Elite members can submit lists in the Discord channel, in the channel for Fix My List. And then whenever we do it, we pick about 3 lists. And we go ahead and we analyze the concept that they're going for or the different choices they made in their list and try and improve it as best we can. So we're going to be looking at 3 different lists today of all different factions, and we're going to be trying to fix them as best we can to help people with their goals. So if you do like this content and you do want to potentially join it, check out the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of all the excellent content you get, as well as access to our upcoming TTS leagues. We just had the first one. We'll have more in the future. But you get to also submit your lists for Fix My List, and that is with 3 consecutive months. You get the War Room Elite roll. Yep. So in addition to that, if you're joining us here on YouTube, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. And finally, I am going to be really happy that Mr. Quinton is here because we just have a great time.
I know.
We just have a great rapport.
Fun, little exciting...
You and me don't get to be on too many streams together.
No, Jack hogs it all.
He hogs a lot of them, yeah. So it's just good to be hanging out with you. All right, let's go ahead and dive in here, starting off with our first list, which is going to be a Necrons hypercrypt list, and this is from Odin here.
So this is right up your alley. You're a Necron player here.
Yep, so he's playing the hypercrypt Legion, and let's go ahead and analyze this list. We got the Silent King as the Warlord. We've got 2 Catan. One is the Deceiver, one is the Nightbringer. 1 Technomancer with the Hyperspatial Transfer Node for the Flat 6 Advance. It goes inside the Wraiths, of course. Then 2 Solo Hexmark Destroyers, no enhancements there. Flayed Ones, Canoptic Wraiths, the 6-man unit. 2 Solo Locust Destroyers, and 2 Doomsday Arcs.
So the first thing that jumps out at me is this list is fairly light on units.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the 3 units in your shooting castle, which is Silent King and your Doomsday Arcs. Then you're going to have your Catan Shards and the Wraiths play in the middle, trying to hold objectives. There's not a lot else in it besides those 2 kind of groups of units.
And that's not too untypical of Necrons right now. Necrons can bring a decent amount of cheap stuff, but the cheap stuff is usually best played in Awakened Dynasty, where you can stand back up individual characters, or you have more trade resources, whereas Hypercrypt, Star Shatter, even Canoptic Court prefer having more durable units and more firepower. And so they typically skimp on the lighter units. The big thing here is that for me, this list feels like it wants to be Star Shatter because it is not really taking full advantage of what you're getting with Hypercrypt, which is trying to teleport as many big guns to a certain angle, blow up your opponent's flank, and then teleport to a different one. There's no enhancement here for the additional teleport, which is a big miss, in my opinion. If you're playing Hypercrypt, since they nerfed it in the December update, you really do need the enhancement. I had been skimping on it previously, but with the change, you just kind of have to use it, in my opinion.
It takes you from 2 units you can pick up to 3?
Yes.
So now you can pick up all 3 if you have the enhancement.
Which is a massive break point. Even if you had more shooting, you just need to teleport at least 3 things. So I think that's vital. And in addition to that, Catan here are really quite slow. They can't benefit from the now 6-inch Deep Strike. You can, move them around the board on the outskirts if you really need to. But what they're trying to do is get into the middle and do a bunch of damage, and that style is just best in Star Shatter. I ran a double Catan, triple DDA Silent King build for Star Shatter that did really, really well early on. Obviously, points went up a little bit since then, but I think that list, the brawling over the center, is better done in other detachments. That's not really what Hypercrypt is trying to do, in my opinion. So I think we have to switch around. If you want to go for this concept and keep the 2 Catan, I think you switch to Star Shatter. and follow along the lines of the list that I had played in the War Room.
What does Star Shatter get you that makes that style better than hypercrypt does?
So Star Shatter is vastly more efficient dealing with enemies on objectives than any other Necron detachment, and it can also have 2 different castles of damage with reroll ones to wound. One from the Silent King, one from the Dread Majesty, Command Barge, or Lord. And with that, you can actually split up your army very effectively. You can have Catan, Wraiths, Silent King push the center with their rerolls, and then you can have a nice castle with DDAs hitting on 2s, rerolling whatever they need to, shooting down range.
That's really good.
That's the most efficient damage that you can get at a Necron list. It has different weaknesses, but in this case, you're not really trying. You're trying to teleport an amount of guns to blow up your opponent and trying to survive the crackback so you can do it again. So in that case, I really don't think Catan are that competitive in hypercrypt anymore. I think they're just quite expensive. You can run them, but I think they're just not that efficient. The Wraith unit is quite good.
I was very impressed with it every time I play it, like even recently.
Some of the most successful Necron lists in general have switched back to running at least one Wraith unit. However, I don't think you need the hyperspatial transfer node, in my opinion. So we can just save some points there by dropping that out. And let's go ahead. Well, I guess I'm going to need that for an enhancement later. All right, so what else do we need? Well, we want Crypto Thralls, because we actually, if you're running the Wraith unit, want it to be as durable as possible, because it's going to be drawing out key enemy resources. And on top of that, it all of a sudden now is going to prevent Call the Horde from being a free discard, which in my opinion is quite value.
I think another big thing here is that the Crypto Thralls give a 4-up Fuel and Pain to the Technomancer, right? You do that? One of the key ways that a lot of armies deal with the Wraith Break is by precisioning out the Technomancer.
Yep, 4 Fuel and Pain is...
all of a sudden, the math becomes swingy. There are a lot of factions that are like, yeah, if I take this captain and I give him this strat, and then I have like an 85% chance of killing the Technomancer, and you take that risk, right?
Yeah.
But if you have a 4 Fuel and Pain instead of 5 Fuel and Pain, now maybe it's like a 50% chance you kill the Technomancer.
You've seen a Reanimator just tank like ludicrous amounts of damage because it has a random 4 Fuel and Pain. You're like, oh, here's 11 damage. You're like, I took 3. I said nowhere.
I know that I used to, when I was playing, there was a period of time where I played against Canoptic Court like a million times with my Death Guard, and one of my strategies was that I would just give precision to my Malignant Bladecaster, because he didn't kill the Technomancer always, but he does it like 60% of the time. Now he does it like 30% of the time, and if the Technomancer survives an extra turn, that's super huge.
It's massive. Yeah. So I personally really enjoy that. Now, in addition, we are going to have the Hexmark Destroyer here get Dimensional Overseer, so we get the extra teleport. If we're running Hypercrypt, you got to kind of run this, in my opinion. All right, so where is that going to leave us? We got a lot of points back from the Catan, and now we have a little over 500 points.
That's pretty good.
So my personal opinion, you could try and go Monoliths here. You could try and add the 3rd DDA, or you could go for a Tesseract Vault. And the question...
Love me a Tesseract Vault.
The Vault is the strongest. The reason is that this list can struggle with Horde armies or like board control armies. Without the Tesseract Vault, it can be very difficult to deal with those. But with it, it has a crazy amount of shots from the Tesla spheres. And then you also have flat 3 damage indirect weapon. Between that and the Silent King, you can actually chip things quite effectively down at a line of sight. And then you have the Flamer profile if you really need it on the Tesseract Vault. It has a 4-up invul natively. It's very durable and annoying to deal with. And if your opponent over-dedicates on that, they're not dealing with the Wraiths. They're not dealing with the Silent King. You kind of give them too many problems. Its big weakness, obviously, is it's gigantic.
It's very hard to literally move. But in Hypercrypt, you can teleport it.
In Hypercrypt, you can teleport it. You can 6-instant Deep Strike it if you need to. And the second reason that you could potentially run it is that previously, a lot of events ruled that you couldn't overhang terrain whatsoever. That has come back a bit more. And so on a lot of formats, you can overhang the extra parts of the vault itself over a ruin or whatnot, which allows you to place it in a lot more positions. It's predominantly seen in the UKTC format, but I still think it fills a damage role that you otherwise don't really get in Necrons. So I quite like it, and we're going to add it in here.
Cool.
If you literally can't play on the terrain format with it, you'll have to adjust. But like on Games Workshop format, you can do it on layout 1, layout 2. Most of the layouts have spaces where you can go ahead and put it.
And it doesn't need to cross the entire table as long as it like gets to an objective.
It can be right on the edge of your
there.
deployment zone, just looking at objectives. And
it's so big that a lot of times it can also just like see over terrain.
100%. So we're going to go ahead and grab that bad boy. I believe he's 400 points, something like that. He ain't cheap.
No, he's not. I think it was like last year at ATC, my team ran 3 Tesseract vaults, and it was very fun.
Where is he? Yeah, he's 425. He's pricey.
Oh boy, he is expensive.
He has gone up. But the other reason that he's quite good here is because you only have a limited amount of teleports. Mm-hmm. So the more MSU you go on your shooting, which is typically pretty good, the less things you're actually teleporting to the spot that you need it. Whereas if you put a lot of points into something that shoots really hard compared to like 2 resources, you have more things you can move around. So you can have the Silent King, the Vault, and a DDA, which is a lot better than 2 DDAs and the King.
This list is really tough. We have the Wraiths, we have the Tesseract Vaults, and the Silent King.
Oh yeah, well that's really hypercrypt is almost always taking a risk unless your opponent doesn't have screens. You're going to have to clear the screens and then say, hey, I have 4 up invulns everywhere. I got high toughness. I got a lot of wounds. I'm going to heal back. What do you want to do about this? And if you can survive the crackback, that's where hypercrypt is in a really good space. And the Tesseract, Vault, Silent King are great things to be up there instead of DDAs, which are a bit easier to kill.
Is there any thought to taking a Reanimator on this list?
There definitely is. And that is exactly where I was going, Quinton, because
I like Reanimators just by themselves.
They're a good resource to throw out an objective, to do an action and force some sort of overcommitment because they can survive a lot. But here we have multiple units that want it. Silent King, Tesseract Vault, and the Wraiths all really appreciate having a Reanimator nearby because between that and the Technomancer heal, you can actually get back to enough wounds even after taking damage that your opponent still has to put big resources into you the next turn. They don't just for free kill you.
It's also you can't like chip them down or anything like that.
So let's go ahead and grab that Reanimator. He's going to be 75 points.
How many does that leave us here?
Not with too much. Reanimator, 75. All right. What else do we have? So let's see. We got 60 points left here, which is the Crypto Thralls, which I had already added in. So we're exactly on the dot.
At 2,000?
At 2,000
wow,
right
that's
here.
Perfect.
So if you wanted to keep the hypercrypt aspect of the list, which is the more unique aspect, I would say, you don't need to force anything into a different detachment, then this is the direction I would go. You have more stuff here. You have better speed. Catan just have a huge speed problem. Against any army that has good screening units, they will just go 4.5 inches away from you. You can't land behind them. All of a sudden, you move 3 inches. You're just not getting anywhere. And they don't offer the firepower or benefit as much from the teleporting threat overload as like something like the T-Vault. So this is something that I would definitely try and play at a tournament if I was going to play hypercrypt right now.
This is a very interesting list. It's not one that I would be enthused to see across table from me.
Yeah, it's a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots. It shoots really hard.
This army just tables GSC.
It's also very durable.
Yes. This is where you could potentially lose very few units over the course of a game. Just have an army. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this one, Odin. Let us know what you think. Moving on to our next list is going to be an Aeldari list for Ghost of the Webway, which is the new Harlequins detachment.
Very interesting. So in this list, we have a Shadow Seer, we have a Solitaire, we have 2 Troop Masters, we have 6 units of troops, we have 5 Star Weavers, 1 unit of 2 Sky Weavers. I always get those names confused.
Yeah, there's a lot of weaving.
There's a Wave Serpent, 2 squads of Fire Dragons, a Warlock Skyrunner, and then 2 Wraith Lords. I
feel like we should add a Shadow Weaver in here just to weave everything.
So we can add a Shadow Weaver, we can add a Doom Weaver, we can add the Death Weavers. If I did the math once, I think there's like 10 different blank weavers in the Eldar book. It's like an absurd number. What is this list good at? Well, it's really good at getting a 5-man troop with the character out, killing something.
Hopefully nothing durable.
No, something like medium toughness. Like you're like pretty good at killing 5 Space Marines. You can probably kill 7 Space Marines, but like anything beyond that, we're looking at like trying to chip you down. And then you get back in a Star Weaver, and then you're safe behind a wall or whatever. And then it's okay at killing tanks, right? Like you'll be able to do with your average army's amount of tanks. It can kill like Fire Dragons. It has some Wraith Lords. It has a unit of 2 Sky Weavers. The issue with this list is what happens if your opponent is in like the medium durability. Like the troops don't kill like Terminators. like pretty much whatsoever, right?
Yep.
Or possessed or 8-bound or anything in that
stat check realm.
The stat check realm. Like, they just don't do that at all, right? They're good at chip damage and they get out, but like you just can't deal with that. And then on the other side, like if you're playing against like Chaos Knights, which is a bad matchup for Eldar generally speaking, but like you've got 2 pretty solid anti-tank assets. You have 2 squads of Fire Dragons. Great, no notes. I love that package. Then you have 2 Wraith Lords, which are like incidental anti-tank. Then you've got some fusion pistols and some Skyweavers, and all of it together might get 1. But like you're looking at killing like maybe 4 vehicles between your whole army. And if you're just getting rushed down, that's not great. There's a lot of tricks in this list, but I think it has a real big like do damage problem. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't need so many troops and Starweavers because the simple math is that there's just not that many like you're never going to need all 6 units, right, to go out, kills, and get back inside. That's just not like a realistic play pattern. I think if you have like 3, that really does like what you need to be doing. Mm-hmm. So I also really don't like the Shadow Seer. I think we can cut the Shadow Seer.
Right, so just straight up.
She's gone. I don't think she does that much. And then I'm going to cut us down to 3 minimum units of troops, and we might actually go back up, but we're going to have them be doing something different. So we're going to cut all of those.
How about the other 3 characters?
I like that for now. The Solitaire in this detachment is money because he can go super far, ignore Overwatch, and then stand back up when he dies, which is great. He also there's like an old heroic where you heroic like if you're nearby, but even if you haven't charged, so you can position him like near the end of like near an objective. If your opponent walks onto it with say like 5 guardsmen or whatever, he can heroic into them, kill them because he fights first. Then he's somewhere he can go do something else. Right. I also think let's cut down to 3. Starweavers, I don't think we need more than that. They're very fragile for what you get. And then we're going to cut this unit of 2 Skyweavers. I just don't think 1 random unit of 2 Skyweavers is really going to be doing that much. And that is going to give us a really decent chunk of points back. We're going to have about 600 points left to play with. And I'm going to try and use this to fix the like doing damage issue that this list has while still keeping it like clown-centric.
How do you feel about the Aeldari stuff?
I think it's really good. Unfortunately, the clowns do have like a problem with killing tanks specifically. And then like just being in the open, and the Wraith Lords and the Fire Dragons actually really
they're necessary.
They're necessary, and they add a backbone to this list that I'm really glad this list has.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a 3rd Troop Master. Just because the Troop Masters are actually like the best part of clowns, and I think we really should have 3 if we're going to be running this detachment, because that is why we're going to want to run this detachment.
Mm-hmm. What do they give? What do they give these troops?
So they give the troop Pile and Consolidate 6, which is like an okay ability. The big thing for them is they just themselves are pretty efficient and they hit really hard.
Okay.
And then I believe
there's some good enhancements, right?
There's some good enhancements. So we're going to give this guy we just added, we're going to give him Sagarach's Coil, which means that when he charges, he's going to do a bunch of mortal wounds. And then we're going to add another unit of troops, but this unit of troops is going to be a 12-man, which is pretty pricey. But what's going to end up happening is now we have this troop master. Then we're going to have a big troop. And then when the unit's going to charge, it's probably going to throw a grenade first. It'll shoot you with 4 fusion pistols. Then it'll charge you and do like 6 mortals. So it's going to hit you with like 9 mortals, and then it'll charge you.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the point where you start to really do credible damage to something like really big and tanky. And I think that's just what this list was really sorely needed.
How many points is this bad boy?
So he is going to be, I think, 100 on the nose with Sagarach's Coil.
Okay.
And then it'll be 205 for a unit of 12 Harlequin troops.
205. Okay.
Okay, cool. So now
Should I add another 5-man for the...
Yeah. So we're going to have... It should be 3 units of 5. So now we're going to have 2 units with troop masters that are going to be getting in and out of boats. They're going to be kind of killing our skirmish stuff. And then we have like a solid, durable, like big hit you brick. Now we kind of have a real question here. And the question is less about like what do we want to do on the table, and it's more about like what do we want this identity to be, and like how much Eldar are we going to allow ourselves to add. Mm-hmm. So if we wanted to keep this like as much clown as possible, I would probably add a bunch of the bikes. You don't get too many, but they can actually start to like really add up, and they're pretty good in this specific.
It's haywire.
Like, you give them haywire bikes, you can take like 2 units and then like a unit of shroud or something like that. But I also think that like one thing this list probably wants is you're really good at killing stuff in like the medium range band. You have some fire dragons, you have some shoot masters, but you don't have anything that's really good at shooting like cross court. So I think I'm probably going to want to do is I want to add a third Wraith Lord, just because I think if we're already taking Wraith Lords, I just kind of want 3 as like a general.
Just your package kind of.
Package, yeah. Because now they can support each other really well. They don't get anything out of this detachment, but they're just like, they're very similar to like Eldar Ballistas. Where now we have something that can actually survive on an objective. We have something that can shoot at tanks at long range. So with 3 of them, our opponent really has to be very respectful of 6 Bright Lances with real 1s to hit moon. Like that's a credible amount of firepower. And now we have 125 points left over. And you could either make this like a squad of Rangers and like a small squad of jet bikes. And honestly, I don't hate that. So why don't we add a unit of 3 Windrider jet bikes? I think they are 80.
Okay, and that's a 3-man?
That's a 3-man, yep.
Okay.
And the reason we're going to add this, and we're going to go ahead and give those guys scattered lasers.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I want something that can like shoot at a decent range. This is a pretty short-ranged army. And I want to be able to like hunt down 10 grots. The other thing I really want to do is I want to be able to walk someone into the center without like dying immediately. Without that important thing dying. And 3 jet bikes is OC6, which is a really important breakpoint. They can go contest an objective. They're just like good for like shooting at something at a distance and then standing there and like not dying. We have 45 points left over, and there's really one unit that is good for there. It's going to be a second Warlock Skyrunner. This guy is not needed to buff these Wraith Lords, but again, someone has to go do area denial. These clowns are really expensive, right? We want the clowns to be getting in and out of these boats constantly, or to be going and hitting something really important. So we're going to take this Warlock Skyrunner. You could join into the jet bikes. You probably won't, because their Sky Laser AP0, the cover ignoring cover doesn't actually do that much for them. And then he's got a Flamer, so real hits doesn't give him that much. But he is now the perfect thing to go and do area denial, go walk into the center, provoke like, a response. Goodbye. Yeah. So now we have more shooting. We have some long range shooting here. We can actually kill tanks pretty effectively. Then you kind of are forcing stuff to deal with Nightmare Clowns. Someone in chat is asking me why Wind Riders over Shroud Runners. You could do Shroud Runners. The reason I'm not super huge on Shroud Runners is because I think the real hits on the scattered lasers and the Wind Rider jet bikes makes their guns much more relevant. And there's not the ignore cover is nice, but I found it really hard to actually get on target. And then also the Shroud Runners are quite large.
Yeah, they have a much bigger base.
I like the Wind Riders being able to just be like a small little unit.
Yeah.
But like if you wanted to swap that out for Shroud Runners, you totally could. It wouldn't, be crazy.
All right. Any other updates?
I quite like this list, actually. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I know we've had one game so far in the War Room with the Ghost of the Webway, but I'm sure, Jack does love his Harlequins, so I'm sure we'll get those back on the table in the future.
And like I said, if you wanted to make this more, like if you're like, I only want to play clowns, you probably could drop like the Wraith Lords and Wind Riders and add a bunch of Skyweavers. But I'm not like in love with Skyweavers.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Hopefully you enjoy this one, Jeremy's, and let us know how it performs. Moving on to list number 3. This one is going to be from Hamster Electria, I believe. It's the Blood Angels Liberator Assault Group, which is the Codex version of their Index detachment. And so there's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's go through it. We got Chaplain and Terminator armor. Okay. We got Commander Dante, who's the Warlord. Lamartes, classic. A Lieutenant. Okay. A Tech Marine. Okay. 10 Intercessors.
That's one 10-man unit.
One 10-man unit. 5 Assault Intercessors with jump packs, 2 5-mans.
Yeah, like that. 1
unit of 10 Death Company for Lamartes.
Okay.
5 Infernus Marines.
Okay.
A 6-man Sanguinary Guard unit for Commander Dante.
Okay.
A Land Raider or a Repulsor Executioner, and 5 Terminator Squad.
Is that a Land Raider Redeemer, or is that like one with 2 las cannons?
The Redeemer is a lot more expensive.
Okay.
This is the God Hammer, yeah. So this list was submitted by Hamster Electria, saying that one of their friends is playing Blood Angels as part of an 8-man teams and wants advice on this list. So the big thing first here is that Liberator Assault Group is about smashing people as hard as possible.
Yes.
And you still do want to bring some amount of guns to a Blood Angels army so that you can clear a screen or, be able to kill a tank or two, but you are mostly relying on supreme combat units because that's what the detachment does best. And this doesn't have enough of those.
No, it does not.
This is 2, basically.
I also think that the buffs you get from Liberator Assault Group are so crazy that you don't need big bricks as much as you used to because you will just kill your opponent anyways.
Yeah, you can absolutely run good 5-man units if you need to. So there's a bunch of stuff in the list that doesn't actually help the goal of the list, which is to effectively win combat engagements supremely well, and to be able to overload your opponent with enough stuff that does a lot of damage. And there's a bunch of things in here that don't do a lot of damage or aren't well suited to doing damage in this detachment.
I think the Land Raider can go.
The Chaplain and the Terminators are terrible.
They're not good.
Unfortunately, they're bad. There's nothing getting around that, and they don't need a Land Raider to get in there because at best you would rapid ingress them to attack. The Basic Lieutenant and the Basic Tech Marine.
Goodbye. And the Repulsor.
The Repulsor Executioner is actually a good tank.
It is.
It is much better in Ultramarines.
When it gets +1 to wound.
You can do a variety of things. Yes, you get +1 to wound from Oath, but like in an Iron Storm, there's a bunch of the crit strat that you can get the crit 5s on that. There's a lot of things that make this tank shoot really hard, but this is not the detachment to do it. So instead, you want a couple more activations that are effectively efficient by themselves.
Yep.
So that's going to go. Intercessors are good.
I like a 5 though.
I ever need 5.
I don't think you need I'm like a 10-man. The 10-man shoots okay, but the problem is the number of things that a 5-man will shoot and kill, that the gap between what a 10-man will shoot and kill and a 5-man shoot and kill is actually quite small. Because most things either don't care about intercessor shooting at all or will die at a 5. The window in the middle there is very small.
Killing cheap stuff is not something that Blood Angels typically struggle with.
No.
And that's not really a package that you need. There's plenty of other tools that you can have. And just having volume of attacks in an Assault Intercessor with Jump Pack Squad is plenty to deal with it. So there's no reason to lean heavy on this. This is going to be your backfield holder. If you're really worried about screening, and that's why you want the 10 bodies, you can simply take the Infiltrator team. And then the Infernus Marines, it's just not a data sheet that's that amazing. The Battle Shock is cute, but
the Assault Intercessor Jump Packs are just wildly better in this detachment.
Wildly. Okay, so 10-man Death Company with Lamartes.
That's fine.
That's totally good.
Yeah.
The 6-man Sanguinary Guard Brick with Dante, also good.
Yep.
If you need to just absolutely murder something. So you could go with smaller squads here and use the strats to punch up, but it's totally fine to have some.
I like having 1 or 2 big hammer units.
Yeah.
I think that's fine, yeah. I kind of want a 3rd squad Assault Intercessors Jump Packs, though.
We're definitely going to get that.
Yeah, just go ahead and add that in right now. They're so good in this detachment. They're heinously good in this detachment.
They're one of the most efficient packages
in the game
for that you can get.
What is it? +1 attack, +2 strength.
Yes.
Well, actually means they can punch up into real targets now.
+2 strength. Yeah.
+2 strength. Yeah.
So there's another character that we're going to need, which I just kept on the side here.
Oh yeah, we definitely want him.
So the best enhancement here is the Rage Fueled Warrior, which is
sustain
once per
3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once per game, this captain just goes Super Saiyan and can do murderous amounts of damage.
He has a 1-use missile, but he will go and punk out a Land Raider or something.
Typically, what you're going to see with him is 5 regular Assault Intercessors. So we're going to go ahead and drop those in. And that's going to be 75 points. All right, so let me go ahead and add this stuff in here. We're missing the shooting package. So let me just delete all the stuff that didn't matter, which is a lot of stuff. Sorry. You have to, the thing is, when you're writing a list, you have to really understand what the goals of the list are going to be. And as soon as you start adding fluff and things that don't actually help the goals, you dramatically reduce the efficiency of the list. There's only a couple units here that were really benefiting from playing Liberator Assault Group.
One thing I often describe to people is that a list can be bad but still be functional as long as all of the parts of the list are pointed in the same direction, right? Is a list that is not efficient, in a bad detachment or whatever, still wants to be this is what I'm going for, here's what I'm trying to do, and here's the units that I'm taking to achieve my goal. This list is trying to walk up to your opponent and then just beat their face in with insane combat. So the units in here should do that.
We better be doing that.
Yeah.
All right, so get that captain in there and then get the Assault Intercessors. So it's going to be 1280. We have
There's a lot of points left.
got lots of points to play around with, which is a great place to be because we need a lot of points. So starting off, we need... The thing is, you could run pure melee with this army, but it has diminishing returns. All of a sudden, fight first units become a complete problem for you. Or if your opponent has, like 15 Deathwing Knights, you don't want to have to get in there. You have a lot of 2 damage weapons and not access to ignore mods. So you need other ways to kill those type of units. And then if your opponent, if the terrain happens to be a little bit lighter, you want to be able to interact with some amount of their shooting. So typically what we see, the best 2 tank chassis
2 Vindicators
is Vindicators and Ballista Dreadnoughts.
Yes.
And you're usually seeing some combination of those. You could go for just 2 Vindicators and no Ballista Dreadnoughts, or you could go for more.
One thing we talked about
was it 185 now?
List, I think it's 185. Yeah. The is that the like the Wraith Warrior and the Ballistas are very similar in that they don't like shoot your head off, but like they shoot reliably. They do sometimes, yeah. But like they shoot reliably over a consistent period of time. They come with their own rerolls. They're pretty tanky. They stand on objectives. They're just not that expensive.
Yep. Being quite durable and being able to activate these multiple times is very, very good.
Yeah.
All right, so we add the 2 Vindicators in there, and we're looking at 1650.
1650.
All right, so we have a couple options here. We could go for another set of combat units, or we could just keep going down the shooting. We could add like 2 Ballista Dreadnoughts in here. We could go to a 10-man Assault Intercessor squad and grab a captain for that squad and really have another solid, quite powerful missile. Yeah. So I don't want to hate that too much.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I think that's a good idea. The other one thing I really want to add here is like some scouts or like a Calidus assassin or just like an element of like additional mobility.
We're gonna add the scouts.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go and see how many points it is.
Just a captain with jump pack.
Yep, and then make this a 10-man. Because as soon as you start going down the ballistas road, it's like
then you're like, why am I not playing Ultramarines?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that was better back when you could take Bloodless Angels.
For sure it was. Yeah. It's really nice that this is cheaper too.
Oh wow, that's way cheaper.
It's not 108. Yeah, it's cheaper to run the 10 man.
Wow, okay.
So and in this build you can actually take advantage of it, unlike in a lot of other ones. All right, so we're gonna grab the jump pack captain here. Captain jump pack, and he's 75 points.
Pretty cheap.
85.
85. That's reasonable.
All right. So we got this going on here. That's pretty good. And then we have basically just under 200 points to play with.
Okay. I want to add a squad of scouts.
Scouts are great. Going back into reserve is a fantastic ability.
They're also just like 5 not that expensive morons. What are they, like 75 now? 65? 70.
I believe they're 70.
Man, scouts are so good.
They are. In full scout.
In full scout, 2 wounds, back in reserve. What a unit. They were
really
like, what, like 55 or something insane at one point?
I believe they said they were at 55 originally.
That's insane.
So you have 125 points here to play with, which is effectively... we're going to run into a weird
points hole. How much is like just a 3-man squad of Sanguinary Guard?
That is 130 points.
Ugh. That's such an awkward number. How much is like 1 Ballistas?
140 now, I think.
Can we add like 1 Ball Predator?
We could add a Ball Predator. Let's see. How many points is a Ball Predator? 135. No, we can't.
Oh, no. We have 125?
Space Marine players have been winning too much. All their points go.
All their points got it. So I want like 1 medium unit, right? Like I want to make this unit, whatever we're going to add, I want it to be like 1 thing. Oh, how much is a Primaris Loan Up Lieutenant?
He's great. He is 70 points.
So if we add him, we have 55 left over.
Let's see. Loan Up. Nope. That's the wrong one. So that's going to, we have 55 points, which means we could just drop the captain, jump captain, and that would give us 140, which we could get a ballistas for.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
All right, so let's switch this around. This is going to be
a lieutenant with combi weapons. I love how many lieutenants there are.
So many lieutenants. There's Phobos and
there's Phobos. There's Phobos. There's Reaver. There's like, I think there's a.
Is there a Gravis lieutenant? We might be missing a Gravis.
I think we are missing a Gravis lieutenant. Games Workshop, get on that. How have you not made a Gravis lieutenant?
You love lieutenants, and you haven't made the Gravis one. So we got the scouts here. I didn't put the mounts, but
there's 5 scouts.
It's 5.
5 scouts.
All right,
And then
a
one
ballistas.
ballistas, yeah.
Nice. And like one ballistas dreadnought isn't too, but it can be the first thing that you put out onto an objective and say, whatever, if my opponent
I mean,
commits
like
enough to kill
a
it,
thing, yeah.
they're getting shot by the Vindicators / charged.
Mm-hmm. No, I quite like one ballistas. I just like ballistas in any amount.
And we're not spamming them here. Like I said, you could cut down on some of the stuff around here.
Mm-hmm. This seems much more like focused and streamlined.
Yep. All right, so let's see. Yep, that's going to be exactly 2,000 points. Let me make sure we did it correct. We got Blood Angel Captain with Rage Fueled Warrior at 115, Dante at 130, Lamartius at 110, and the Combi Lieutenant at 70. 75 for our Assault Intercessors. Then we have... Ooh, there's an extra letter in there.
I think it got moved. We're missing an I in though.
All right. Aha, I see.
Try makes a good point about the ATVs, but I think I like where we're at.
Could do the ATVs. They're other cheap skirmishers. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to go heavy on skirmishers, the ATV is a...
Why is the ATV like 8 wounds? It doesn't know. Why is it 8 wounds?
Remember when it could heal back?
Yeah.
And then we got 160, 90, Ballistas Dreadnought, 240 for the Death Company, 260 for the Sandguard, Scouts at 70, and then 2 Vindicators at 185. And
I quite like this list.
This is a very strong Liberator Assault group. You know, if you are bringing this into your team, this is going to be a good army to go into a lot of different matchups for you. So hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown of the different lists. I didn't see any super chats here, but we appreciate everybody hanging out with us and having a great time. So if you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. We love having your support, hearing from you, hanging out with you, and we're going to keep doing these live shows. Next week, it'll probably be, I think it's the Home Nations recap.
Yes.
So Nick and John have traveled over to England to play in a Team USA event, and when they come back, they'll be giving you their thoughts in the live show next Thursday. So if you want to hear from them, definitely hang out next Thursday. If you want to see more content from us, check out The Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and we had some banger games released this week, including Votann versus Emperor's Children. And today in The Worm, we had Astra Militarum facing off against the Adeptus Sororitas. Quinn's new Champions of Faith, and
it's a very fun game.
Showing how strong
that attachment is, yeah.
Really, really strong. So come on over, check it out. Check out those post-game recaps, join our community, get access to the Discord, and you'll interact with tons of players from all over the world. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you all very soon for more content.
See you around.
So long for now.
Bye.